got a real treat for you today. We're going to talk to the air traffic controller that worked 207 Papa Charlie on the engine out in the mountains in IMC. And it all worked out really well, so stick with us on FlyWire. Hey, I'm Scott Perdue. Today on FlyWire, we've got Kent Treglown, who was the air traffic controller that handled 207 Papa Charlie when he had his engine out in IMC. Did a fantastic job, and we're just going to talk to him a little bit to get his perspective of what the event was like and what the training is, what the situation is for an air traffic controller that they face. So, Kent, tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into being an air traffic controller?
I stumbled into it, honestly. Literally stumbled. I was going to Green River Community College in Auburn, Washington in 1985, 85. And there was a little sign that said, civil service testing for air traffic controller and all these listed jobs. I thought, well, probably better than what I'm doing now. Took the civil service exam and got a phone call a few months later, and here I am.
Yeah. So you did 20 years?
34 years.
Sorry?
34 years.
34 years. Yeah. That's a pretty good long career. Yeah.
Yeah, Denver Center, Seattle Center, Boeing Tower, BFI, and most of it at Seattle Treglown. 25 years at Seattle Treglown. Okay. Loved every minute of it.
So it is a little unusual though to go from a center to a tower and then even a Treglown, isn't it?
Yeah, it was kind of a unorthodox route, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't regret it. I mean, I love airplanes, so working at Boeing Tower, you see everything. And then working at Treglown was fantastic. So it's all good.
Cool. Well, my practice wife was she got hired as an air traffic controller at Fort Worth Center. And I went through UPT at Shepherd, and that was her sector. So I actually got to talk to her a couple of times in training.
Yeah. And you're still here.
And I'm still here, yeah. So if you could run me through this event with the A36 7 Papa Charlie. You were
I just listened to and watched the video again. It's been a couple of years. He said emergency. I said, what's the problem? And consequently, I did meet him. I mean, I'm going to jump forward and then I'll come back, but I meet him at the salvage hangar, and his engine was just a horizontal piston, 6-cylinder engine, had a hole in it that I could put my fist in at the top of the crankcase. So one of the main bearings let go. I mean, it was just a major failure. He had nothing going on there, and I sensed that right away. And my thought was, well, let's get to lower terrain and see what we can find.
That was an excellent call. And in the video, I talk about that is having a plan for what to do. And the number one plan, I think, is where's your bug out is towards lower terrain. And if that's not available, I mean, got to have some kind of a plan instead of.
Yeah. And, and since he's not here, I'm going to speak a little bit for him, but not too much for him. But he had ForeFlight going on his, he told me this the day I met him, and he had ForeFlight going. He was talking about power lines that he saw that I don't have any picture on my map. And so he had much more information than I did. He saw the terrain, he saw the power lines, he saw everything. And, my goal was low terrain.
Yeah. Which I think was a good call. I thought you showed an incredible situational awareness of the terrain. Did you have a different display other than the radar display that we have?
There is a map that we can pull up. It's called the EOVM map, Emergency Obstruction something map. So we pulled that up, and it's kind of vague. It doesn't really, it's not specific. It's not like what you'd see in a typical, like map of the Seattle area. You don't have all this information. You just have terrain and the tops of the trees, basically, and a couple of altitudes. And so he descended quicker than I thought he would. I'm not a pilot, so I didn't understand the Bonanza would descend that quickly. And so I started to kind of steering him through this valley when all I have is a couple altitudes. And
Right. Well, yeah, it is an eye-opening situation even for pilots, and they don't really quite understand what the descent rates are. Engine out in a Bonanza, especially an 836, is probably about 1,500 feet per minute.
yeah, I had no idea. And I'll tell you, Scott, when this happened, I thought he's at 11,000 feet. We got nothing but time. We can get him anywhere. And being not a pilot, I was wrong. But I can't believe how fast that airplane came down. I mean, it's a Dutch airplane. It's probably pretty damn heavy.
Well, it is. It is a heavy airplane. The gross on that is like 36 straight out of the factory, and he had a turbo normalizer in it, so he was at least 3,800. He may have been 4,000 pounds as a gross weight. I'm not saying that's how much he weighed on that day, but yeah,
Relatively light. He had flown from Yuma, Arizona, and he had filed his flight plan from the Dalles to get into the Seattle area and land at Painfield. So he wasn't full of fuel, which maybe was a good thing. You know, there was no fire.
Yeah, no, that was a really good thing. Ripping off the wings actually was probably the best thing he could do. So when he called for that engine failure, you know, your thought was well, here's an airport, here's a nice airport, let's go for that.
Mm-hmm.
Then he's saying, no, I can't make that. So
I don't know if he ever vocalized that to me that he couldn't make it. It was just my suggestion. There was a lot of weather around Seattle, so I'm thinking let's go south of that weather and let's go toward the valley. And just kind of looking for lower terrain, really.
Yeah. So it dawned on you that the descent rates is so fast that he's not going to make it. Better find some other place.
Yeah, and so when that happened, when he said, you know, we lost our engine, I looked at his ground speed, which was like a 120 or 130, and then all of a sudden he did the right thing and did the ideal glide speed.
Yeah.
Best glide. See, if I was a pilot, I'd know that. And it slowed down. So I'm thinking you're going to do 120 all the way to the airport, but that didn't happen. So he quickly started dropping, and then we pull up the emergency map and what's next? What else do we got?
Yeah. Well, that was good. I think it was a good call to go to. And what prompted you? I'm really curious about the valley, though. What was going through your mind there? Because when you initially gave him the vector towards that strip, there's a ridge in the way. You eventually figured it out that he's not going to clear that ridge.
Terrain. To answer your question, terrain.
Is that EOVM?
He was right over the Cascade Mountains.
Yeah.
There's no viable options right there. So let's go west toward the lowlands of the Puget Sound area and see what happens. And that was my first thought.
Yeah. Well, I'm just amazed actually by you vectored him into that valley.
Yeah.
He's in the clouds, and you successfully negotiated that valley.
Well, you know, I totally misjudged the descent rate. I'm not a pilot, like I said, and he was coming down faster than I thought. And all of a sudden, wow, can you see the terrain off to your left, to your right? You know, and I have to give credit to him, the pilot, for, you know, being steadfast and, you know, flying his airplane. I think that's probably the ideal glide rate.
Yeah, he did a great job of flying the airplane. He never stopped flying the airplane.
That's right, he did.
And that was the key to his survival, frankly.
Yeah, I think he did a good job. I did okay, and there was a lot of luck. So
well, I think you're too hard on yourself. I think you did a really excellent job. And whether you thought, you know, the fact that you realized, and you're not a pilot, so you didn't really tumble to how fast the descent's going to be, but you recognized it. And then
Sure.
you okay, well, I better turn you up this valley. So turn to this heading and fly down this valley, and then we'll try to get you south again. That, to me, that's an incredible amount of SA.
It all worked out.
It did. It was really, it was amazing. But
I mean, honestly, you look back, there was a lot of luck involved. So
yeah. Well, back when I flew up fours, I was in TAC, Tactical Air Command, in the Air Force, and we had a saying: "It's better to be lucky than good."
That's right. Right. Indeed. Yeah.
So, tell me about coordination you did with other people, because it seemed to me that when you first got that emergency, you offloaded all the other airplanes you're working with.
Yeah. There was so much going on behind the scenes. I had 6 people behind me, supervisors, other controllers. Let's do this. Let's, open up this sector, close this sector. And it happened very quickly. And the guy next to me, his name's Andrew, just did a fantastic job. He took all my workload, and just, you don't hear it in the audio. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes.
Oh boy. Yeah.
So when you got the emergency call, what is the technique you used to alert everybody else around you and your supervisor, the floor supervisor?
You just yell out, "Get over here."
Yeah.
Yeah. And they come running, and you tell them what's going on. Everybody did everything perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah. They all jumped in and made it happen. That was excellent.
And then, I was not busy, but I was a little bit busy, and the guy next to me was really busy. But Andrew was his name. He took all my airplanes, my frequency, and he worked them all. It was fantastic.
Yeah, that's good. So when you turn him south, you're still thinking about trying to get him towards that airport, and you didn't have any idea where the clouds were, how low they were.
No, there was a system moving through. There was some extreme weather over Seattle, thunderstorms. I had no idea what he was looking at. So I asked him, I said, "Can you see the ground?" And he said, "No."
Yeah.
Okay. We'll keep going, So I'm just thinking low terrain, because I'm thinking with the lower terrain, there's more roads and there's more options.
Yeah. Well, in the end, you actually got him really close to the airport, just a little bit to the northwest of it.
Almost.
Yeah, almost. But the problem there is, and I try to make that point in the video, is you really need to get there with a fair amount of altitude, like at least a left base like that, which should have been 1,500 feet.
Yeah.
To be able to make it and make a normal landing.
Right.
And he really didn't have that. That's not your fault. It's just the physics of the situation. It's how it worked out. So I think his call was he looked around for it. He's probably spent a little bit extra time doing that. And he looked around for it, couldn't see it. And then he said, "Okay, that's it. I'm done."
Yeah, I think he was taking my advice kind of half-heartedly, and also looking at his flight, which is much more information, like I said, and kind of just like, well, what are we going to do here? Where are we going to end up? I guess we're lucky that he ended up in lower terrain. There was options, because I know that area out there. It's very rural. It's kind of farming, so he could have put it down in a field, or some kind of rural road, not a lot of traffic, and that's what I was hoping for anyway.
Yeah. Well, looking at the map and looking at the satellite, he could have put it down potentially if he'd seen the road that ran up that valley.
I know. Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah,
but it was twilight. It was getting dark, and he didn't pop out of the clouds till it was probably too late.
Yeah, I think it was too late. He wasn't really going to do that. And then looking at the satellite down where he did land, if he could have gone a little bit further, he probably could have met a field. But the physics of the situation demanded that no, you're not going any further than that.
Yeah.
So
the last thing I heard him say was, "All I see is trees here."
Yeah. And
then there was some kind of cluttered, garbled communication. I wish I knew what he was saying, but didn't hear it.
So all I see is trees, and then what he does is he slows down and hits the trees, slow as he could, under control, which is absolutely the right thing to do.
Yeah, you're right. But I mentioned the gear only because I'm thinking about the road, but I never mentioned the flaps, and he told me, I never put my flaps down. I could have landed a few knots slower, and it would have slowed things, or not landed, but crashed a few knots slower, and it would have slowed things down a bit.
If he'd used half flaps, and I believe that airplane had approach flaps, so it's just one click and you go to half flaps. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of Bonanzas don't have that option. They're either full flap or no flap. You
I
can
think so.
stop it in between, but that takes a lot of brain bites to do
Right. Right.
that.
Yeah. He was
So
busy.
yeah, I'm not sure that half flaps would have bought him very much more, other than being able to enter the trees a little bit slower.
So I'll share a story after he crashed. When we talked, he said, I think he was unconscious for maybe a minute, maybe two. He said, I woke up and I looked down and my iPhone was laying in the dirt. And he said, my first thought was, why is there dirt in my cockpit? He called his wife and his wife didn't answer. He left a message on her voicemail. Hey, I crashed. I got to call 911. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Well, the way it worked, I think there was somebody else looking out for him, frankly. I mean,
Love
it just with the wings ripping off, that took up a huge amount of the energy. And then when it hit that tree and the engine broke off as well, that took the
Yeah.
rest of the energy at the best possible place.
Yeah.
And the whole
Love that.
cabin was intact. It was,
I was convinced he was gone. After it happened, I went outside and kind of walked around the building a few times, and I was like, yeah, I tried, but
yeah, you tried, you did your best. How, when he says, I'm going to land in the trees, what did you do? Did you, were somebody else calling an emergency, trying to get emergency
oh yeah,
response out there?
oh yeah, we're already on the phone with emergency services, but I was just trying to point out the airport, and
Yeah.
I wasn't even sure if he could hear me, at that point.
Yeah, he might not have actually, because of depending on where your transmitter was. And
Yeah, it was pretty good actually. I mean, I could talk to him pretty low, but
yeah,
the last few transmissions there, no idea.
yeah, yeah. And you actually made a comment about that. Said, I'm not sure how long you're going to hear me, but I'm going to keep talking you on.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in that situation, you can ask other pilots to relay messages, but I knew he was coming down fast, so
Yeah, there's probably no real time to actually do that,
right,
to hand
right.
it off or try to do a relay. But
A lot of luck that day.
yeah, a lot of luck. Well, so tell me about how you ended up talking to him. You ended up meeting.
Oh, so yeah, that's good. That's a good question. I think I got a phone call from the NTSB saying, "You want to come down and meet this guy?" I said, "Yeah, I do." Or maybe I reset. I don't remember, to be honest with you, but there was a salvage hangar in Auburn S-50 airport. Went down there, and he's in a wheelchair because he broke both of his ankles. And introduced myself, and yeah, it was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a great outcome.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So I
Couldn't believe
understand
it.
you've. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that I couldn't believe it. So they had that engine right there in the middle of the hangar. Like I said, I could put my fist through this hole in the top of the crankcase of this engine. I was like, wow. Yeah, no wonder it broke up,
Yeah, it was a catastrophic failure.
Yeah, crankcase. I mean, yeah, huge. I think, and he's not here. I'm not going to mention his name, but I think he did a great job.
I think you did a great job too. You ought to be proud. Ought to be maybe buying a lottery ticket.
He said, he said, next time I want to have an airplane with two of those little propellers on the outside of the wings.
Yeah. So I understand that you have since retired from being a controller.
Yeah, almost a year to the day. Retirement is great. I recommend it. And you're retired.
I am retired. I like not working for the man.
Oh, you do a great service, man. Your channel's man. How long you been retired?
I retired from American for three years ago.
Yeah.
And I started the YouTube channel, I guess, just about 2 years ago. I'd had rotator cuff surgery, so I'm like this for a long time. Had to have something to do.
Yeah.
And that's how I started FlyWire.
Well, like me, you worked shift work for a lot of years, so it's wonderful to be retired, isn't it? no alarm clock anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear what you're saying, but I also get up at 4 a.m.
It's, I know. You send me emails in the middle of the night. Like, this guy ever sleep? Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
So what are you doing these days now that you mastered your own schedule?
Not a lot. Just I try to exercise, and my wife and I, we visit the local wineries a lot, and it's kind of chill. We're not like go-getters and have to do something every day, so it's pretty chill.
That's good.
It's a great lifestyle. Like I say, if you ever get up this way, look me up.
I'll have to do it. I think that would be great. And come for a visit. I'll probably end up flying Charlie, so we'll have to go for a flight in Charlie.
You're still current, obviously, and you still
Oh
fly.
yeah.
What do you fly?
A couple of the other videos I had an A36 for a long time, and I sold that this summer, and I've got the F-33C, the aerobatic Bonanza, and I've done a bunch of videos with that too.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
More to come, and that's what I'll be flying up there when I fly. When I go to the Northwest, I'll be flying in Charlie. That's what
They have a fly-in here at Chelan Airport, Sierra 10.
Yeah.
Every year. Well, COVID permitting, but in June. Come on up.
We'll sure try to do that.
I'll wine and dine you.
That'd be great. Well, I sure appreciate you. I understand. Actually, you're the one that shared with Vast Aviation the recording.
I did. Yeah. I just thought maybe some pilots and controllers could learn something from it. I'm not a pilot, so.
Yeah, I understand, and I think you're absolutely right. I think both pilots. It is an excellent example to learn from for both pilots and controllers. Yeah. And not a hit on you. And you're not a pilot, but a lot of controllers that I hear in emergencies, they're actually saying things that they think are well-meaning, but they don't actually help the situation out.
Exactly. And I wish I would have used the words best glide speed, even though he did that already. And I wish I would have said flaps. You can Monday morning quarterback this to death.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But
the FAA does not do a great job, in my opinion. I don't want to get arrested, but they don't teach that shit. I remember going through my training and thinking, I don't even know how to fly an airplane. Shouldn't I know some basics?
Yeah.
It never came. So
never came out. Yeah.
You should get a contract with the FAA and be a contractor to teach controllers how to help pilots.
help introduce pilots to or controllers into what pilots do.
Yeah. I mean, you can laugh about it, but it'd be a valuable tool,
I think it would be an excellent experience.
Because when that happens, when things go down the shitter, we're calling for the guy that's in the break room that is a pilot. Get him in here. We need some, let him talk to this guy, because I'm not a pilot, Yeah. So a little base of knowledge, just a base. I don't need to be a pilot, but a little basic knowledge would be, I think, extremely helpful.
Extremely helpful. Yeah, I totally agree. Plus, I think it would be very beneficial for pilots to know what you're facing and how it works for you. We both are very intertwined in our jobs, but it's like there's a wall between us. Shouldn't be.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we had a lot of pilots come in for tours in the Tracon. That was great. But you're right. Just like, I don't know what you're doing and you don't know what I'm doing. It seems to work most of the time, but when when things go south, it'd be nice to have a little base of knowledge,
Yeah. Well, good. Well, I sure appreciate you calling in first and then saying you'd be willing to do a little short interview for FlyWire about the event, and I appreciate that very much.
No, thank you. Like I said, your channel is fantastic. I'm not a pilot, but I learn a lot just from watching your channel.
Well, thank you very much.
You're right. Keep them coming.
Okay.
Hey, so there you have it. Nice. It was a great seeing what Kent's perspective was about that incident where 7 Papa Charlie had the catastrophic engine failure in IMC in the mountains, and it all worked out really well. I mean, he had broken legs, and that's a shame, but he's alive. Hope you liked the video, and if you did, hit subscribe. It looks kind of like this, and you're gonna find it, where is you gonna find it? Down there. And what else? Oh, Patreon supporters, thank you. I appreciate your help and your support. And if you like the video, hit like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, you know, things like that. And well, I guess I'll see you next time on FlyWire. Click this link for the latest upload. Click this link for whatever YouTube thinks you ought to watch. Or you can click this link to subscribe. Thanks for watching.